Well, thank you for being there. Over time, the Sustainable Development Goals have created several opportunities in various sectors, including the maritime industry.
And today, emphasis is being laid on sustainable shipping in a sustainable planet, even as the world marks Maritime Day. Joining us from Lagos via Zoom to talk more on the World Maritime Day is the Director General, Nigeria Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, Dr. Bashir Jimo. Welcome to Good Morning, Nigeria.
And also joining
thank you very much, Jumai, and welcome Nigerians, and happy World Maritime Day. We are very fortunate to be a maritime nation because of our coast and the enormous maritime asset we have within our own coast. Good morning, Nigerians. Thank you.
Also joining us from Lagos via Zoom is the Vice President, Association of Marine Engineers, that is, and Surveyors of Nigeria, Emma Ilori. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, and good morning, Nigerians. It's Engineer Emmanuel Ilori, the Vice President of the Association of Marine Engineers and Surveyors of Nigeria. Thank you.
DG sir, the world is marking Maritime Day today. What are the implications of this year's theme, that is, on the industry in Nigeria?
I can hear you well, Yusuf.
All right, what I'm saying is today is Maritime Day, and the world is marking it as such. You are too marking it, and we are also marking it here, using that as a platform. What are the implications of this year's theme on the industry in Nigeria?
Well, the implications, as you know, Yusuf, the issue of Sustainable Development Goal, which there are 17, which the International Maritime Organization agreed in 2015 with over 193 countries endorsing it in order to eradicate poverty and hunger. So this one is being applicable to all developing and developed countries. And among the 17 Sustainable Development Goals agreed, only 3 concerns maritime industry. The SDG 12, that's Sustainable Development Goal 12, responsible for consumption and production, which is operational waste from ships. And then we have SDG 13, which has the climate action. The IMO has put in place a set of measures for the control of emissions from ships, from the shipping sector, which is greenhouse gases. And then the SDG 14, which is life below the sea. We have a number of gains and benefits on this life below the sea, such as aquatic lives, fish, shrimps, and other valuable things that we can use it to eradicate poverty. So these are most of the important things, and it has a great deal of implications. That is the SDG 12, 13, and 14 for the Nigerian maritime sector. And the implication of those 3 SDGs hold for the maritime sector to reflect the manner in which the agents, our own agents in the sector, respond to the crisis that may follow something to concrete. It's not quickly done and addressed to the challenges.
What we're saying is looking at these goals and looking at the maritime sector in Nigeria, which you had, can you outline the achievements made in these goals one after the other? We have very little time for this as such.
Okay. Well, we have a number of achievements for this under this Sustainable Development Goal. And what we do is in terms of enabling triangles. The enabling triangles, we call it under one angle has to do with maritime security, the maritime infrastructure, and then the governance, good governance, which is an interventionary policy. So if you take the maritime security, you know there is nothing you can achieve without security in our own water domain. It's a big challenge, but recently the federal government approved the contract for the for the maritime asset, the deployment of maritime asset. And this asset, more than 85% arrived Nigeria to ensure that we are more ready in tackling our own maritime security challenges, which is popularly known as Deep Blue Project. And this Deep Blue Project provides number of assets, including special mission vessels, 17 past intervention vessels, 2 special mission aircraft, 3 special helicopters, mission helicopters, and number of technologies, which include C4Is. And the C4I, these are instruments that we have to police our own water without necessarily concentrating on these platforms. And in addition to that, the agency in recent aggressive drive went through a number of engagement with the relevant security agencies like Navy, Air Force, Inspector General of Police, Custom, Immigrations, and other working groups. The working group include the local stakeholders and also the international stakeholders to realize our own mandate. The physical and monetary incentives also, which we are now pursuing. In terms of physical incentives, we want to see that the beneficiaries, that is the stakeholders, the maritime stakeholders, benefit certain, policies in terms of physical incentives, reductions of duty when they are importing their own, ships, as well as the monetary incentives, which will now give them a leeway if they are importing spare parts for the repairs of these ships. They can enjoy certain, government policies. So this one comes under the good governance, which has to do with their, policy interventions. And other things has to do with cabotage. When you look at the cabotage trade, give us the advantage to have our own cargo. Only the owners of the ships in Nigeria or built in Nigeria, manned in Nigeria, registered in Nigeria can take cargo within the local vicinity. So you can see this helps in creating employment where we are having a number of problems. The issue of also ship repairs, which has to do with modular floating dock. We are just about to deploy the modular floating dock. We are hoping that it's going to create employment for over 350 Nigerians, as well as the foreign earning. It will also use as a basis of training our own cadet from MAN Academy Oron that specialize in the maritime industry. This plus other so many things form under the infrastructure. So you can see the enabling triangle try to address the issue of maritime security, the issue of infrastructure, as well as the good governance policy intervention from the government, as well as incentives given to the owners, to the ship owners. Thank you very much.
Okay, Dr. Bashir Jomo, thank you. And this year's theme is Sustainable Shipping for Sustainable Planet. What kind of opportunities does it provide for the maritime sector? And what has the maritime sector, the SDGs create profit for the maritime sector? I'm looking at Ima Ilori.
Thank you very much, and good morning again. The focus of this year's World Maritime Day is to look at the maritime dimensions of the SDG goals, which is as mandated by the IMO. The IMO this year is trying to emphasize the role of the maritime industry in the achievement of the SDGs, as it were. And it cannot be more brought home than the recent global event of the COVID-19 pandemic, when if you realize that 80% of the global world trade goes through the sea. And then just imagine if we eliminate the maritime dimensions in the pandemic, the whole world will have grounded to a halt. So it shows how important the maritime industry is to the sustainability of our globe. And if you bring it back home, what we are now trying to do is to align Nigeria with the IMO objectives of the maritime dimensions of the SDGs. Let's take, for example, the issue of no poverty. And that's about the diversification of the economy, if it's about zero hunger, what can we do? What's the maritime dimension of zero hunger? And we are looking here at the ocean fishing development. Now, with Nigeria, with a vast ocean, we cannot say we are contributing enough to food security by not harnessing the fishing industry that we can easily garner in Nigeria. Now, good well-being and health, we are talking about the role of the emission gases on the health of the nation. If we have pollution coming from the air and from the sea, then obviously we need to do something about that. Another example is affordable or clean energy, which is SDG 7. We need to reduce our dependence on fossil fuel energy and develop alternatives. So the role of the maritime sector or the maritime industry on the achievement of the SDG goals seems to have been sort of suppressed. And what the IMO and through the Nigerian effort this year is to raise awareness of what the maritime sector can contribute to the achievement of the SDG goals. Take the SDG 11, for example, is talking about sustainable cities and communities. The DG just raised the issue of security. Our communities in the coastal areas cannot be sustainable without security. Climate change is another example, the issue of greenhouse gases. So there are so many issues that the maritime industry can contribute to the achievement of.
Well, we seem to have lost Ilori there, but Dr. Bashir Jamu, we are talking about the SDGs and how, you know, the maritime sector fares in their actualization. SDG 7, SDG 11 are all part of these ones that must have, or you must have really, you know, gone through in trying to achieve some feat in them. But we can't run away from the fact that COVID-19 has affected almost everything and everybody, maritime sector inclusive. What's the effect of this very pandemic on the sector you are heading? We are asking you, Bashir Jamu, about talking about the, you know, the effect of COVID-19 on the maritime sector. It seems as if we've lost your audio there. Maybe you can just look at the system and get it corrected, and then we can have it going. Can you hear us now? No, you can't hear us. Okay, Ilori, let's get back to you. Maybe we'll be able to do a little justice to that. Can you really give us an assessment of the effect of COVID-19 on the maritime sector?
Well, it's a global phenomenon. And like I said just now, the global economy is dependent by nearly 80% for the movement of goods necessary for the global economy to move around. So we need the ships and we need the seafarers to run the ships. Now, what happened recently is that we kept the global economy moving by ensuring that the ships continue to move. Unfortunately, some of those seafarers who are caught in the web then have longer time. The distresses of the moving the vessel around became very difficult for them, but they still continue to sustain those vessels. So the global economy was kept moving. Just let's pause now for 80% of the global economy of the logistics to have grounded to a halt. Then what we are saying will be different. So the maritime industry, as we said, is very, very critical to the sustainability of the economy and of the world. And particularly, all those goods that were needed during the recovery from the pandemic still came mostly by sea.
Okay, Mr. Elori, I hope Dr. Bashir Jomo is back. Is he back? Okay, we now return to Imai Lori. Let me ask you a question. You know, there are so many untapped opportunities in the maritime sector here in Nigeria, and in the sustainable culture that we have here, the shipping companies or the maritime industries, what kind of opportunities can they harness with, you know, vis-a-vis the IMO regulatory framework? Mr. Ilori, I'm saying that there are so many untapped opportunities in the maritime sector in Nigeria. So how can we key into the IMO regulatory framework to ensure that the maritime sector in Nigeria brings so much profit and a lot of people go into the business?
Yes, that's a very, very critical point. The indigenization of the maritime sector in Nigeria is a major focus because the indigenous Nigerian companies and owners have been excluded predominantly from this industry. And if you think of a country of 200 million people and it's a maritime nation, the opportunities there are so many. We import our goods and we export our oil, which means we should be participating fully in the maritime dimensions of the economy. At the moment, it's not there. In terms of logistics of goods by sea, it's not there. Shipping development, we are not participating fully. Ship repairs were not really done here in Nigeria. Shipping here in Nigeria, the DG talked about cabotage, but even the vessels needed to implement cabotage fully, they are not built in Nigeria. We still go abroad to go and buy vessels. And this is year 2020. Nigeria as an industry, the country that needs to be industrialized needs to actually key in fully into the shipping development. Now, IMO is trying to create a level playing field for all nations so that we can participate. Take, for example, the fishing industry. Now, we are not participating in the global fishing industry at all. And then IMO presently is creating the enable environment where we can have the necessary regulations for fishing vessels and for fishing business development so that Nigerians can take advantage of this. Take, for example, about 40% of our protein comes from fish, and then we are not participating fully in ocean fishing development. So we need to key into the opportunities, and the IMO is doing its best to actually engage developing nations, and Nigeria needs to cooperate fully with the initiatives coming out of the IMO. And lastly, we need to recognize that technical development is key to the development of the maritime sector. And this is an area that Nigeria at the moment that we are not engaging fully in it. So we need to engage with technological development and technical development so that we can key in to the development of this nation and ensure that the maritime sector plays a major role that it should do in the global economic development and in Nigeria economic development, because those nations that have developed and that are controlling the global economy rely more importantly on their maritime sector. And Nigeria will do very well if we rely or if we make sure that we develop our maritime industry to ensure that we tap the necessary benefits arise.
Well, thank you, Ilori there. Dr. Bashir Jamo, let's just look at this angle of the whole maritime sector. What are the untapped opportunities, if one may ask, embedded in a sustainability culture, that is, that shipping companies or maritime industry can harness? Talking about your industry now.
Thank you very much. I'm back. I'm very sorry. I think the service was tripping on. I was talking. I think you are not hearing me. There are a lot of opportunities. You know, we have just concluded the process and procedures of Sept disposing the CBFF cabotage vessel financing fund, and in so doing, the qualified applicants will be able to get some relief by getting funds from the federal government to acquire ships so that we can have our own fleets, and then we earn a lot of foreign exchange. Similarly, on the issue of shipbuilding, you know, we are laid back in terms of shipbuilding. When you look at the history of shipbuilding, Nigeria started the issue of Ajakuta steel rolling mill with the intention to be producing steels for the ship building, and along with South Korea. South Korea today emerged as #1 country that produces ships using their own, their own steel. But Nigeria, we are still lagging behind. So what we are doing now is to activate and see how we can now promote the issue of shipbuilding. The ship repairs industry also is there. We are trying to see how we can address that issue. With the agency's intervention, we imported one of the largest modular floating dock in Africa. Only South Africa and Nigeria will own that floating dock. It's brand new one. So instead of Nigerians carrying their own vessels outside the shore of our own nation, they have this modular floating dock to use it, and then we conserve our own foreign exchange. And similarly, when it comes to the the development, human capital development, the agency, single-handedly we handle the issue of creations of the maritime university, which the bill is going to the presidency for the second time to ratify. But the university has been in place, producing a number of Nigerians professionals that can, feed the industry. This aspect is not only for Nigerians, ship owners to carry. The policy is to see that the younger Nigerian generations trained here, we can export them because we have the advantage of the younger Nigerians, the age bracket that they can, use their own talent and ability to get their own training in terms of marine architecture, marine environment, maritime engineering, and then as well as, different sectors of services that we can render. So younger generation, they will have to get those training. In addition to the MAN Academy Oron, we have Nigerian Maritime University also that do train these younger Nigerians. And then additionally, the other area we are looking at is the ship bunkering. When we say ship bunkering in Nigeria, we look at the illegal bunkering. We have legal bunkering. The Nigerians, the Nigerian ships owners, both residents in Nigeria and outside, you begin to wonder, where do they get their foiling? If you have your own car, Malan Yusuf, you know that you go to the, fuel station, filling station, you fuel your own car and proceed with their own journey. But for those who are at the sea, where do they bunker their own ships? So you have to do the oil bunkering. We want to make Nigeria as a center or as a link where ship owners, all those ships that are coming here to lift our own crude oil, we will have to centralize the issue of ship bunkering and officiate it so that people can have things to do. And the foreign exchange generations, by the time the Dangote refineries start, will be producing light, fuel that the ship owners can be used for bunkers, not only within Nigeria, even the West African coast.
We thank you so very much for being part of the show this morning, and we must really congratulate you for, rather as you mark your day today. And then some appreciation goes to Emma Ilori, the Vice President, Association of Marine Engineers and Surveyors of Nigeria. We thank you so much. And that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. Join us